what would your advice be to any first-timers to InfoComm?
Pace yourself.
Pace yourself.
I mean, I pretty much fell victim that everybody does. Like the first year or two that I went, I put in a ton of steps. I saw a lot of stuff, but boy, I was exhausted by the end of the week.
It's a marathon, not a sprint. You got to take better care of yourself.
On this episode, we discuss InfoComm, dealing with facilities, and direct e-commerce. All that and more on EdTech. EdTech episode 130, Synchronicity. Hello, AV friends. Welcome to another episode of EdTech. As always, we have our awesome panel of higher ed AV professionals. Ernie Bailey. Hey, Ernie.
Hey, Erin. How are you doing today?
Oh, hanging in there. And we also have Rob Rasberry. Hey, Rob.
Hey, Erin. Always great to get together again with a group. Looking forward to a great, robust discussion.
Absolutely. And today's special guest joining us for this episode is Mark Eggert from Macalester College in St. Paul, Minnesota.
Hello, how are you?
Hey, Mark. Welcome. How about we start off by you telling us what you do over there at Macalester?
So I am the primary audiovisual engineer with responsibility of managing classroom technology and the technology and all of the event spaces on campus, which amounts to about 150 spaces campus-wide. We have a team of 4 people. 2 of them are on the event side and handle all the audiovisual aspects of the events. And then there's 2 other people. One is our manager, who focuses both on the event side and then as well as the classroom side.
Yeah, as per usual, higher ed AV, we're doing all of the things, right? And it is definitely a special group that has to do both classrooms and events.
Yep.
So this first article that we read came from AV Technology on avnetwork.com. Why now, more than ever, InfoComm is relevant for end users. And this one was written by Cindy Davis. So we've all been to InfoComm. Why? Why is it relevant for higher ed AV users?
Well, it's the place to go when you want to take a look at what technology your institution needs. You have certification, you have learning and networking. I mean, it's almost like it's a one-stop shop almost. And, you get to network with technology managers, higher ed peers, HETMA, different organizations, the latest and greatest in technology. I don't know, we could talk all night about why it's so much fun to go to InfoComm and how useful and it is important. And I'm a little regretful because I'm not going to be able to be there, so I expect all of you to give me, summaries of it. But I've always looked forward to it.
To echo what Rob just said, I mean, certainly for the networking, it's certainly an opportunity to see product. I mean, every time I go, I always see something new, and it's an opportunity to look at product that we may be considering for classrooms that maybe maybe there's also things that we hadn't thought of before that we will see when we're at the show, and then also it's seeing peers, seeing friends, seeing manufacturers, seeing a lot of people I know. I mean, I spent the first 20 years of my career working for an integrator, and so it's also the point that I will see a lot of people I know from all sides of the industry.
It's the people you see, the networking. I've also had opportunities to talk to manufacturers about challenges that we're seeing, maybe some way they can tweak one of their devices to make it more classroom friendly for us. And I've seen results from those conversations. So I find that encouraging. Like I said, seeing new products that are going to be out there. InfoComm saw the first plasma TVs. There was a manufacturing issue. They were supposed to be shown at the NAB show that year. They didn't make it in time, so they were released at InfoComm, and that was a really exciting time. And seeing things like that, seeing new technologies, or seeing prototypes of something you're going to be seeing over the next year or two, give you a chance to plan for it and discuss it with your faculty and your end users, and figure out how you might be able to integrate new tools or find a, we've got a list of challenges that we're seeing on our campus. And we're just going to go to several different manufacturers as well as look for new solutions to some of these challenges that we'll see. I'm taking two of my engineers with me, and we're going to be, like I said, specifically looking for some things. We have meetings set with several manufacturers that we've worked with. Some of them have said, we're going to have a room. You have to sign an NDA before you can go in the room. I've got you down for an invitation for that room if you're willing to sign the paperwork and not discuss what you see. And it's stuff that you'll see in about 2 years in the marketplace. So those are always exciting times. And, I've been doing this. I went to my first InfoComm in 1985. It wasn't InfoComm back then. It was the NAVA show, National Audiovisual Association. It's changed names several times, but I've been going for a long time. So yeah, you do see people that you've met over the years, people you've been on committees and boards with, or done business with in the past, and maybe even watch people move from company to company, and you can carry on interesting conversations with those people. So
No, absolutely. When Hetma was trying to come up with the theme for this year's booth, which is Camp Hetma, I immediately InfoComm every year reminds me of like summer camp, but for AV people, because it's that one time a year that I get to see all of my friends from all over the country and now world come to one place. We get to hang out and have fun. But also get to, experience great tech, like Ernie was saying about those hush rooms where you got to sign an NDA. Like, if you get the opportunity, absolutely get to see what the things that are in development. But you always have to be careful about the new things that are debuted at InfoComm. Make sure you pay attention to those release dates and don't hold firm to them, because I have seen people get bitten so many times by something they saw at InfoComm and they put it into a project, but when that project needed to get done, that piece of equipment was not ready yet. So definitely be careful of that. But so what would your advice be to any first timers to InfoComm?
Pace yourself.
pace yourself. Don't overbook yourself. I mean, I love the education parts at InfoComm, but try to go to the classes early in the week before the show floor opens, because you're going to be overwhelmed in that show floor. And 3 days is not enough unless you know specifically what you're going to go looking for, and you're going to try to bypass the others. But go experience it. I wouldn't miss it. I've been to most of them over the last 40 years.
Yeah, I would also say for first timers, check the colleagues. I mean, sometimes they're the best reference that you have, as far as I'm going to InfoComm for the first time, what should I expect? And they can point out certain things that you should look for and avoid, the pitfalls, like you said, overbooking and that kind of thing.
I pretty much fell victim that everybody does. Like the first year or two that I went, it's like I put in a ton of steps, and I saw a lot of stuff. But boy, I was exhausted by the end of the week, and I still managed to get in some classes as well, because it's a great opportunity to get a good amount of CTS renewal credit versus, and then you can do it in person versus doing it online, which that also does have a lot of value of taking the CTS renewal credit in person. But, you learn over time as you continue to go to the show that, okay, so I did all of this the first one or two or three times I went to InfoComm. I kind of now have a rhythm. And now that, once you figure out that rhythm, then you can continue and, okay, I don't necessarily need to see this because that's not as much of interest to me anymore. But, so then you can focus on, maybe your focus is more on presentation, or it's more on projectors, or it's more on control systems or whatever, and then you can, sort of pick and choose your battles, if you will.
Absolutely. And that that show floor map, that is your friend. When you're planning stuff out, make sure you're aware of kind of how far apart things are. So I know sometimes it's so easy to book up a bunch of like booth tours, but not realize that you booked things back to back on
Opposite.
in booths that are opposite sides. At least in Orlando, it's one hall, so it's a little bit easier than Vegas with the two different two different halls, but it's still, you're not going to have to put in that extra energy to get from one place to the other if you don't have to. So yeah, be cautious with your scheduling. Make sure you leave yourself ample time to get from place to place, and hydrate.
Yes.
You never really realize how dehydrating it can be, being at any of the shows. With all the AC and stuff, you need to stay hydrated, especially if you attend a lot of the fun after party things that tend to happen also while at InfoComm. Is that all we got about InfoComm?
We'll see you there.
Yep. We'll see you there.
Except Rob.
Womp womp. But yeah, if you do go, make sure you stop by the HETMA booth at 4887. We will be the party in the back. Happy hours each day. It's always a good time and a great place for higher ed folks just to stop in and hang out. We'll jump to the next piece, which is on AV Buyers Club, and was written by Scott Tyner. Drawing the line between AV and facilities control.
Thank you, Scott.
Wow.
Yeah. This is a good one because it's something that we don't really tend to talk a lot about. But AV and facilities, where are we drawing the line? What are we doing here?
I'll put light switches on my control panels, or maybe blind controls, shade controls, but I don't want the HVAC system connected to it or anything else. I don't mind a button that says, hey, this room's too hot or this room's too cold. It goes to my help desk and my guys can call it in to the facilities people, but we don't want to be connected to each other. They don't want to connect to our system either. They have their own systems, and we don't want a one for all package because they're both going to be compromised at that point, I think. And I think that's pretty much what Scott's saying. They know, the HVAC and electrical people and emergency all know what they need. I mean, we do not connect to fire alarm systems or anything like that. We've looked at it in the past, and I mean, there's a liability that's put on you at the same time. If you do that, your system has to work and has to work properly if it's going to be part of the fire alarm system. So we just let them put in separate speakers. We used to fuss about it, but realized that it's easier for everyone if they have their own system. And then if it fails, it's not on us, but we can help them troubleshoot it because it is our technology really that they're using for that. So
I'm going to use a weird term called what you need between AV and facilities is what's called synchronous communication. And we typically do not have this. There is a disconnect where a lot of times facilities, since they're in charge of the physical aspects, power, lighting, all this kind of stuff, think a lot of times that they either know what we want or they'll go to someone else, a designer or something that thinks they know what we want without telling us what exactly you're doing. And the best situation you can have is where facilities and AV sit down before a project and say, hey, lay out, this is what we're doing, and we tell them this is what we're doing, and to find the right combination so that nothing goes awry, nothing is missed in the projects, the building of a new building, or redoing an old space. We have been getting a better relationship with our facilities, but still we'll walk into a space and they'll have done something, or we'll go into a space and we're putting something together and weird things will happen. And again, if your facilities and your AV sit down before everything happens and work a project, get that roadmap out, that's the best situation. And of course, you have other, little things in there. Some shops are non-union, some shops are union, so you get that whole, issue or layer on top of things. But, like Ernie said, I think in general, you want to keep things separate because everybody has their expertise, and, honor that.
I'll echo off of what Ernie said as well. It's like, we have our limits as to what we can do and where our expertise is. They have their expertise. I mean, facilities may have a lot of their systems on the network so that they can monitor it themselves. But that does not necessarily mean that we all want each other's systems to talk. It's like our HVAC people have a lot of their systems on the network, but I don't want all that on a touch panel. I don't want all that in the AV system, because there again, it's just it can completely clutter the layout on the panel. And you want your panels to be relatively simple. And then two, it's like, I just I don't, there again, like Ernie, just like you said, I don't mind having shades and, and things of that sort on there. But, it's just, let's keep it pretty simple, because shades have an effect on the AV system, because if we can't open it and close it, that has a direct effect on how we look, and then how we are perceived as in our professional roles across campus. And so as long as we have that, things like that there that help us out, great. And then from the piece, Rob, that you talked about as far as managing projects go, we're such a small school. We have a very, very good relationship with our facilities people, but at the same time, yes, there are pieces that can be missed. We're in the planning stages right now for a new building we're planning right now. It's going to break ground. I think we're scheduled to break ground summer of next year. It's a welcome center and a residence hall. So it's going to and some of the offices that are in there are going to be for residential life, admissions, financial aid, some of those teams. And we're going through and revising plans and drawings and so forth right now to make sure that, there's a lot of stuff that does not get missed, because, we don't want to miss anything. And we do both retrofits here of buildings, as well as, design, new design build, as well as tear down and rebuild. So it's just, we run like any other campus, we run the gamut. And so it's going through. The nice thing is that our facilities team is really good at making sure that our team is in early enough in the process that something's not forgotten. Sure, things will get forgotten. That does happen. But as time goes on, they've gotten much, much, much better about making sure that our team and our networking team and all of the interested parties are getting into the game earlier and earlier and earlier to make sure that different details don't get missed.
Oh, absolutely, Mark. Yeah, it is so important that building those relationships so that you're included in those planning phases, because nothing is worse than last minute them going, oh yeah, and then the AV at the end. And you're like, wait, what?
Yeah, right.
There's a lot of stuff that needed to be done so that we can do our thing. But yeah, it's there's something to be said for having kind of a mutual respect for what each does, but staying in our own lane. Alrighty, so this next one from AV Magazine on AV Interactive, Project AV team introduces AV Direct e-commerce website. What's the value of using an e-commerce site for equipment?
Well, we do some. And, we have our own design, engineering, and install people. They're the same person, but for a lot of these things, I do just need a box house. I need a place I can call, I can get an order, I know it's going to come in. But there are also times that I want to deal with an AV integrator because I want to have someone that I can talk to about, challenges or something with a piece of equipment. So we try to find the balance, for a lot of the smaller widgets and just behind the scenes pieces, we might go to an e-commerce site or a basic box house. But when we're dealing with the major components, I want to deal with someone that I can talk to about warranty or about installation challenges, or they can put me in touch with someone else who's purchased the same product, so we can talk about how it works together. Part of the networking that we build at InfoComm, is part of that, I think. But I think it really depends on the actual institution. And, if you're needing something, design built by an integrator, this is not probably a good solution for you. But if you're doing your own stuff, you can probably get a little bit better price. You're not paying commissions and you're not paying engineering to help you design it or to discuss best use or anything like that. Someone who's just selling the box and it's going straight from the manufacturer or distribution center to you and not passing through them or anything like that. So it's something you have to, I see both sides of it and I've worked both sides of it. So
yes, sir. Essentially, Ernie pretty much said it all. It depends upon scale and what the use case is. If you're able to do a self-installation, fairly straightforward, then go straight to an e-commerce site. It's interesting, Ernie, because there are some integrators that are now sort of touting where they used to say, yeah, you can sort of, get our services and stuff. And then, oh, wait, we have this whole other like e-commerce site where you can just, buy things directly, sort of trying to nudge in, I guess, on the CDW and the B&H and all those.
One of our suppliers that we had kind of quit using because anytime we bought anything, they wanted to engineer the system to make sure we were putting it together right. So we had to give them our entire plan and then they would look at it. Well, they've now, and we never were buying anything from them because they were overpriced. And it was good for some people that needed it. They contacted me and said, we've hired basically a box sales manager, and she'd love to work with you. You can still contact me with questions, things like that. But if you're just ordering and you already know what you're getting and what it's going to do and how you want to use it, she can get you better pricing. And they are more competitive. They're still not as low as the B&H or CDW, but they're getting closer. And every time I put something out to bid like that, they're getting more competitive. So
with the different comments that you've made in this, you kind of hit the nail on the head here is that, we're a pretty small school. I kind of at the very beginning, said how big our team is. And with the number of classrooms that we have to outsource a lot of the work that we do. Now, with that said, the last several years, we have done more in-house, but we're really not doing any full installs. We don't do any new installs in-house. We don't do any full upgrades in-house. But if we're doing a swap out of a projector, or if we're doing a swap out of a touch panel, or if we're doing, smaller, simpler upgrades, if you will, a lot of that we will do in-house, just because, it's a lot, it's a lot more streamlined, and, then we can save a significant amount of money in that case on labor. And then we can push our dollars further towards other things, and it's worked well for us. And I have found my integrator has become significantly more competitive in recent years, where if it's a box sale, sometimes I'm getting as good a pricing from them as if I go to, any number of, box houses, CDW, B&H, whoever, and buy something from them. Or sometimes I'll buy the gear and I'll have my integrator install it. It just kind of depends on how we're able to price things out for the different projects that we do. It's just like last year we remodeled our campus center. I did a bunch of Zoom rooms, and basically the equipment that we were able to buy ourselves, we did, and the stuff that was protected, like control equipment and things of that sort, we bought through our integrator, and then they installed it, and we just pulled it all together, and we came up with a plan, and it all worked out great.
Yeah, this is kind of one of those things where the in-house integrator schools, they've been pushing for a while, trying to do buy direct. And this is not quite there, but it kind of is getting it like that little step closer. And it for the longest time, I didn't really understand why like manufacturers wouldn't want to sell direct. The one factor that everyone always said is like they want that QA. They want to know that you're going to put it in the way it's supposed to be put in, and that's why they want to go through an integrator or whatnot. But I also, through some of the supply chain courses I've taken, some of it is also they just don't want to have that kind of staff on hand and that kind of system on hand to ship those smaller numbers. They want to send big numbers to one box house and then let the box house do the smaller distribution. So I'm like, this might be about as close as we get, really, unless you're a school that's always buying hundreds at a time. They might be able to finagle buying direct a little better, but I could see this being at least another step in the right direction, and maybe trying to make that procurement for the in-house integrators a little bit easier.
Yeah, I would like to see something where they looked at our certifications. We've got CTSs, CTSIs, CTSDs on our teams, other specialists. I've got people with Crestron and BIAMP certifications. Why can I not use that and be able to get a discount from a box house because I show that I've got the engineering expertise on staff, and let the manufacturers work packages, like going to Crestron, buying from B&H. Not many Crestron products are available. Most of them they want to sell through an integrator. So, there is that quality control you talked about, knowing that the right people are installing it, it's being installed properly. But if we can show, maybe B&H has a qualification on their deal that, if we're meet this qualification, we've got, something on file there, then they can buy Crestron at a discounted price and sell it to us and be the distributor for the manufacturer. And that might be something we need to talk about with Avixa, or HETMA may be able to take it to them as well. So just something that would make things better for everybody. The manufacturer would get their stuff out faster. The end users wouldn't be paying for engineering services they don't need, because there are places that do need it. There's always going to be a good market for those. We've actually got the opposite side of this. I had a company. They've done electrical all over the nation. They're based here in Little Rock, but they're a big electrical installer. They've gone into low voltage over the last few years. They've started hiring AV installers, and they're willing to come in and take. They said if you're behind on your installation and you bought all the stuff from the e-commerce sites, we'll come in and install it. So you're not paying for all that. You hand us your engineering drawing. Give us your design. We'll put it in the room. We'll be your labor team, and we have people that know AV install that can come in and do it. And we'll do it to your standards and your specs. So I've got some stuff coming up where I'm probably going to give them a try.
So it's sort of interesting that as our AV acumen has evolved and the ability to know more and learn more, I think you're going to find that more manufacturers, down the road will try to find that least path of resistance, even to the point of some of them where you can, say you set up an internal integrator within a university and then allow that to buy direct from a manufacturer. I mean, I talk to more manufacturers and they're more open to that. Obviously, yeah, you want to send out as many units and as much as you can, but I think the manufacturers and the industry are starting to recognize that, hey, higher ed people really know what they're doing. And, it's not just, we'll just push, the design and push all this stuff out on everybody all over the place anymore. There are institutions that more and more are going more, we can do it ourselves, and what's the best price that you can give us?
You see that quite a lot. There are quite a number of larger universities that are exactly that way. It's like, here in Minnesota, the University of Minnesota essentially has a team that sells their services to other departments within the institution, because that's exactly what they do. They call themselves Classroom Technology Services, and they are the installers for the university. The department has to have the funding to have the install done. The department has to have the funding to purchase the equipment, and then that team does it for this department or that department across campus.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. This was an absolutely fantastic one again. Great conversation, and I'm sure we have plenty more that we could even say about these topics, just because it's definitely a good one. So, if anyone wants to reach out to you, Mark, after this episode, where might they get in contact with you?
The best way to get in touch with me is email. Mark Eggert, MEGGERT at macalester.edu.
Okay. And how about you, Ernie?
You can find me on LinkedIn.
And Rob?
What Ernie said, LinkedIn.
And as for me, you can find me on LinkedIn, on HETMA Community, and each month here on AVNation's EdTech podcast that can be found on YouTube or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. You can also find other AVNation podcasts like AV Career Mastermind, Women in AV, State of Control, and more. And if you're going to InfoComm, be sure to stop by the HETMA booth at 4887. See you next time.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.